No one could handle the millionaire twins for more than a week, until she showed up and turned their world upside down. Before we start the story, leave a comment indicating which city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy. I've closed billion-dollar deals in Tokyo boardrooms and negotiated hostile takeovers with sharks in tailored suits, but nothing, prepared me for hiring a nanny. It had become a revolving door. 12 nannies in 8 months. Each one exited with the same look, haunted, shell-shocked, and muttering something about the twins as they walked out my front door, usually before the end of week 1. Max and Lily are 5 years old. Adorable, clever, and the very definition of chaos in human form. Their mother, Claire, passed away 15 months ago. Since then, I've tried to maintain order, to build a routine, a fortress of structure to keep life from imploding. But no amount of discipline or tight schedules could erase the emptiness that echoed through this house. The children didn't just misbehave, they screamed for someone to notice they were hurting. Still, I did what I knew. I ran my tech empire from the top floor of our estate. I hired the best child psychologists, private tutors, therapists, cooks, housekeepers, anyone who could help me control the growing storm. And then she showed up. She was late. Strike 1. Hair a mess, shoelace dragging, apron stained with something suspiciously red. Strike 2. And there was a piece of chewing gum stuck to her elbow. Strike 3. I watched from the upstairs landing as she approached the front door, fumbled with the bell, then shrugged and pushed it open herself. Bold. Or just reckless. I followed her into the main foyer, where I found her frozen in place, staring at my children. Max had duct-taped 3 remote-controlled cars together and was riding them like a mechanical bull across the hardwood floor. Lily had covered our antique piano in peanut butter and was attempting to play it with celery sticks. The woman, her name was Leila Torres, according to the agency, didn't scream, didn't run. She just blinked, dropped her bag, and said, "Huh. You must be Max and Lily. And I guess I'm the next sacrifice." Then she turned to me. "You must be the dad. You really need a green juice and possibly a nap." I frowned. "Excuse me?" She pointed to her own under-eye circles. "Matching luggage, sir." "I see it. Been there." Before I could respond, Max shouted, "Fire in the hole," and launched a water balloon from behind the staircase. It missed her by a miracle and exploded on my shoes. Leila just sighed. "Okay, boys and girls. First rule, if it explodes, melts, or screams, it doesn't belong in the living room. Now, who wants to clean up this mess in exchange for a story about a dragon who farts glitter?" They paused. Lily tilted her head. "Glitter?" "Rainbow glitter," Leila confirmed, folding her arms. And just like that, my feral children followed her into the kitchen without another protest. I stood there, speechless. That was a first. Later that afternoon, after a minor incident involving bubble wrap, maple syrup, and the upstairs chandelier, I found myself locked in my office with Leila. Literally. The twins had shoved her into the room while I was on a call and locked the door from the outside. "We thought you two should talk," Max shouted from the other side. "Maybe fall in love." I groaned and rubbed my temples. "You've been here 6 hours, and they've already turned my home into a matchmaking sitcom." Leila shrugged. "They seem to think you need help." She was sitting cross-legged on my office sofa, still wearing that ketchup-stained apron, as if it were perfectly acceptable to speak to a CEO in condiments. And yet, my kids laughed today. They hadn't laughed like that in months. Not since Claire. "I have no idea what to do with them anymore," I admitted quietly. She looked at me, not with pity, but with understanding. "You don't have to do it alone." It was a simple statement, but it hit harder than I expected. Eventually, the security guard unlocked the door. As I stepped into the hallway, Max was waiting with a toothy grin. "Did you fall in love?" "No," I muttered, walking past him. "But she's staying, right?" Lily asked, clutching the hem of Leila's apron. I paused. Leila stood behind them, one brow raised. "Are you firing me already?" I looked at my children. At their hopeful, bright faces. I hadn't seen them like this in so long. "She can stay," I said. "For now." They cheered. Leila winked. That night, I walked upstairs fully expecting to find chaos, bubble baths overflowing, stuffed animals on fire, someone glued to the ceiling. Instead, I found peace. The twins were tucked into bed, fast asleep. And in between them, Leila sat in a rocking chair, head tilted, eyes closed, a children's book still resting on her lap. She was barefoot. Her curly hair had come loose from its bun. She looked like she belonged. I stood in the doorway for a long time, listening to their soft breathing, the creak of the rocking chair, the faint echo of lullabies. Then I did something I hadn't done in over a year. I smiled. Just a little. The nanny stayed. That in itself felt like a miracle. Leila was the first person in 15 months who didn't treat my children like ticking time bombs or run screaming after one of Max's lava carpet games. She didn't flinch when Lily asked inappropriate questions or turned her snack into a science experiment. Instead, she embraced the madness. And slowly, too slowly for me to admit it out loud, our house began to change. It started with nap time. Max and Lily had refused naps since Claire died. It didn't matter how exhausted they were. They'd lie in bed wide-eyed and silent, as if rest meant surrender. Like if they let go, the world would forget their mother. But on the third afternoon with Leila, I found the twins curled up like kittens on the living room rug, drooling peacefully while spa whale music played from her phone. I blinked. "What did you do to them?" She yawned. Warm cocoa, a pillow fort, and 5 minutes of deep breathing. Max fell asleep mid-roar. Lily followed after I told her the rug was made of clouds. "You're joking." She held up a Polaroid. "Proof." That night, I watched the house from my office window. It was different. Quieter. Not empty, just calm. The kind of calm I hadn't felt since. Claire. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes, just for a second. And she came rushing back. Claire had this laugh that bounced around a room like a rubber ball. She'd wear my oversized hoodies and dance barefoot in the kitchen. Every time I came home late, she'd greet me with pizza on fine china and ask, "So, conquer any boardrooms today, Caesar?" She made me feel like a person, not a machine. And then she was gone. Car crash. Rain-slick road. A curve. A phone call at 1:12 a.m. Suddenly I was a widower with twins and a house full of silence. The door creaked open, snapping me out of the memory. Leila stood there, holding a plate. I found leftover pizza in the fridge. Figured the Caesar might want a slice. I stared. She tilted her head. Too soon for pizza jokes. I chuckled, but it came out brittle. "You remind me of her." Leila's face softened. "Your wife?" I nodded. She crossed the room and set the plate on my desk. "I'm not here to replace her." "I know." She hesitated at the door. "But I can help you remember how to breathe again. For them." Then she was gone. And I sat there, alone with a slice of cold pizza and a heart full of ghosts. The next morning, I was startled awake by screaming. "Dad! Dad!" I bolted down the hallway, heart hammering, convinced someone was hurt. I threw open Max's door to find Lily sobbing, tangled in blankets. Max was on the floor beside her, trying to wake her up. Leila rushed in from the other side. "I was having the nightmare again," Lily whispered through tears. The one with the fire and the door and Mommy was calling, but I couldn't find her. My knees nearly gave out. Leila scooped Lily into her lap. It's okay. You're safe now. I couldn't open the door, she cried. I wanted to go to her. Max clutched his sister's arm. I held your hand. Just like Mommy said. I hadn't known about the nightmares. How could I have missed this? I sat on the floor beside them and touched Lily's back. I'm here now, I said. You're not alone. Leila glanced at me, nodding slowly, and mouthed, they need you. Later that day, I cancelled my meetings and took the twins out. We went to the zoo. Ate popcorn. Rode the tiny train that looped around plastic elephants. Max insisted I wear a lion hat. Lily made us speak in British accents. People stared. I didn't care. They smiled. They laughed. And I began to see it, not just the healing, but the possibility of joy again. That evening, I peeked into their room. The twins were curled up under a blanket, holding hands. A string of paper stars hung from the ceiling, spinning slowly. Leila lay nearby, whispering stories about a fox who lost his tail but found his courage. She looked up as I lingered in the doorway. You can come in, you know, she said quietly. I stepped in and sat beside her on the carpet. How do you do it? What? Get them to trust you. She looked at the sleeping kids, then back at me. I don't talk down to them. I talk with them. I listen. I let them be messy and loud and scared. Kids don't need perfection. They need presence. I swallowed hard. Presence. I hadn't been present in months. I'd been surviving. Managing. Protecting. But not truly living with them. They love you, you know, she added. Even when you don't know how to show it back. I blinked away the sting in my eyes. You're dangerous. She smiled. To who? To a man who built walls for a living. She didn't respond. Just reached out and handed me a small plastic crown. They made you a king today. Wear it proudly. And for some reason, I did. I wore a purple crown while sitting on a floor covered in glitter, surrounded by paper stars, next to a nanny with ketchup on her jeans. And for the first time in 15 months, I didn't feel like I was falling apart. I felt like maybe, just maybe, I was finding my way back. 3 weeks in. That's how long Leila had been with us. The previous record was 8 days, 2 hours, and 17 minutes, yes, I kept track. She had shattered it like Lily shattered my antique clock when she tried to see how many marbles it could hold. Spoiler, the answer was 12.5. By now, I was convinced that Leila Torres was either a miracle worker or a chaos goddess with perfect teeth. Maybe both. Our once cold, echoing mansion now smelled of cinnamon, crayons, and burnt toast. The twins had transformed from tiny tornadoes into slightly more coordinated hurricanes. And I, Benjamin Cole, CEO of Coltech and former Forbes cover darling, was routinely defeated by a 5-year-old girl in Uno. Daily. This morning, I awoke to Lily in my bed, wearing my socks as gloves and whispering, "Daddy, do you think flamingos would like pancakes?" Before I could form an answer, Max appeared at the door wearing a cape and holding a stuffed moose. Emergency. Leila says the kitchen is on fire. I bolted out of bed barefoot and sprinted to the kitchen. It wasn't on fire. But there was a significant amount of ketchup dripping from the ceiling. Leila stood in the middle of it, holding a whisk and looking entirely unbothered. We were making rocket pancakes, she said. The ketchup was for flames. Max got excited. Ketchup. Flames. She nodded. Max said syrup was too slow. Ketchup is explosion colored. I stared at the chaos, flour on the counters, a chair tipped over, eggshells in the sink, and what I was fairly sure was maple syrup clinging to the chandelier. Then Max handed me a plate with a smile. "It's shaped like your head." I looked down. The pancake was, in fact, vaguely head-shaped. With blueberries for eyes and what looked like a bacon smile. "Eat it before it gets cold," Lily said solemnly. "It's a symbol of our peace treaty." "Peace treaty?" Leila clarified. "They agreed not to superglue your laptop if you eat the pancake." I sat down and took a bite. It was crunchy. "What's in this?" "Confidence," Max said. Leila shrugged. "And maybe a crayon shaving or two." I coughed, swallowed, and reached for coffee. Later that day, I tried to return to work, but something strange happened. I missed them. I missed the noise. The weird questions. The random hugs. The sticky hands tugging on my tie while I typed emails. I didn't want to be that dad anymore, the one who locked himself in his office while someone else lived his life for him. So I canceled a meeting. Just one. And when Leila passed by my door with a laundry basket, I said, "Hey." She paused. "Hey. Wanna take the kids to the museum? The dinosaur one?" Her eyes lit up. "You're coming." I thought I might. Unless ketchup is involved. Only on Brontosaurus burgers. And just like that, we went. It was the twins' first museum trip since Claire died. They raced through the exhibits like caffeinated squirrels, gasping at every fossil and roaring at the animatronic T-Rex. Leila let them climb all over her like a jungle gym. She spun Lily in circles and let Max ride on her shoulders until her hair stuck straight up with static. And me? I watched. Watched my kids come alive. Watched Leila laugh with them like she'd known them forever. Watched something in my chest crack open. That night, after the kids passed out mid-sentence in their beds, I found her on the back porch. She was curled up in a chair, a blanket over her legs, sipping chamomile tea. I stepped out quietly. "Thanks for today." She looked up, surprised. "You came out here. That's new." "Yeah, well. I figured the ketchup truce deserved a follow-up." She laughed softly. "You're not so scary, you know." I leaned on the railing. "You're the first person who's said that in years. I mean, don't get me wrong, you look like a man who organizes his socks by emotional damage levels, but still." I laughed, genuinely this time. Then I turned serious. "They're happy again." "That's you." "No," she said gently. "That's them. I just reminded them they were allowed to be." We sat in silence for a while, listening to the breeze and the distant hum of crickets. Then she added, "You're allowed to, you know. To be happy." I didn't answer. Because deep down, I wasn't sure I remembered how. At 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of thunder. The storm was loud. Violent. I checked the kids' room. Max was sound asleep, snoring like a cartoon character. But Lily's bed was empty. Panic hit me hard and fast until I heard a faint noise from downstairs. I found her in the kitchen, curled up in Leila's lap, tears staining her cheeks. "I had the dream again," she whispered. But she was farther away this time. Leila stroked her hair gently. "Then we'll sing louder tomorrow. So she hears you." Lily sniffled. "Promise?" "Promise." I stepped closer, and Lily turned to me, sleepy-eyed and raw. "Can I stay with Leila tonight?" I nodded, throat tight. As I turned to go, Leila stopped me. "She misses her mom," she said quietly. "So do I." "You're allowed to miss her, and still make room for something new." I nodded. But in that moment, I wasn't thinking about new beginnings. I was thinking about a woman with dried ketchup on her shirt and glitter in her socks who somehow brought my daughter back from the edge of grief. And maybe, just maybe, she was pulling me back too. Every home has a room that time forgets. In ours, it was Claire's art studio. The door had remained closed since the funeral. Not locked, just untouched. Like a sealed tomb made of memory and sunlight. Even the twins avoided it. I'd once heard Max whisper to Lily that Mommy's voice still lived behind the door, and if you opened it too wide, you might scare it away. I told myself I kept it closed out of respect. But really, I was afraid. Afraid that stepping inside would unravel the thin thread of stability I'd built to keep myself standing. Afraid I'd smell her perfume again and fall apart. So I avoided it. And I never told Leila about it. Which is why, when I came home early that Tuesday and heard the sound of laughter, Claire's laughter, my breath caught in my chest. I followed it like a ghost chasing its echo, until I reached her door. It was wide open. The studio was flooded with light. Inside, Max was spinning in an old swivel stool, wearing one of Claire's oversized paint shirts like a cape. Lily was painting suns on the window glass with yellow watercolors. And Leila stood in the center of the room, holding one of Claire's brushes. She didn't see me. She was humming. Something familiar. Claire used to hum that same tune when she painted. For a moment, I forgot to breathe. Then she turned, and froze when she saw me. The room fell silent. The kids sensed the tension and slinked out quietly, heads down. Leila stayed. I didn't know it was off limits, she said softly. My throat felt tight. It's not your fault. I was just looking for an old broom, she said. Max opened the door. Said it was Mommy's magic room. I nodded, numb. She held up the paintbrush like a weapon she was afraid to return. I didn't mean to disturb anything. You didn't, I lied. Then I saw it. A shattered mug on the shelf. Claire's mug. The one with the purple lip print and the chip in the handle. The only thing she drank tea from. The one she'd painted herself. Broken. I stepped forward slowly. Leila noticed. It was an accident, she said quickly. Lily knocked it with her elbow. We tried to glue it, I held up a hand. The air between us thickened. It's just a mug, I said coldly. But she heard what I didn't say, it was all I had left. She placed the brush down with care and stepped out of the room. I stayed. Alone. With the ghosts. That night, I didn't join them for dinner. I sat in my office, staring at my inbox, watching as unread messages piled up. Leila didn't knock. I didn't expect her to. Maybe it was better this way. She was getting too close, too comfortable. And me? I was forgetting how to protect myself. The next morning, I found something on my desk. It was a mug. Lumpy. Handmade. Painted crookedly with two colors, purple and gold. The lip print was too large. The chip looked intentional. And on the side, in messy child handwriting, it said, "Love lives longer than things." Max and Lily's names were signed on the bottom. I stared at it for a long time. Then I went to find her. She was outside with the twins, drawing chalk murals on the driveway. Max was building a stick castle. Lily was coloring the sun pink. Leila sat cross-legged, her jeans stained, her hair tied up with a ribbon she probably stole from Lily. She looked up when I approached. I held out the mug. It's awful. Her lips twitched. They worked really hard on it. It doesn't even sit flat. Max insisted it needed personality. I sat beside her. On the ground. In a $2,000 suit. I overreacted. She didn't gloat. She just nodded. I miss her every day, I said. Some days I forget what her laugh sounded like, and it terrifies me. Leila's voice was quiet. I'm not trying to erase her. I know. But sometimes, seeing you with them, hearing you hum, it pulls me back. And I don't know if I'm grateful or drowning. She looked at me gently. Grief and joy aren't enemies. They can live in the same house. I exhaled. The twins crawled into my lap like it was nothing. Max stuck a chalk mustache on my cheek. You look like a French pirate, Daddy. Captain Croissant, Lily added helpfully. Leila laughed. And I let myself smile. Because even in the shadow of Claire's absence, something else was blooming. Not a replacement. But a beginning. That evening, I opened the studio door. It was still a little messy, paint stains, paper suns, glitter on the floor. But it wasn't ruined. It was alive again. I placed the broken mug on the windowsill beside the new one. The two stood side by side, imperfect and beautiful. A symbol of what was lost. And what might be found. If there's one person who could undo the fragile peace we'd finally built in this house, it was my mother-in-law. Lady Margaret Wensley. Sharp as glass. Voice like a courtroom gavel. British to the bone. And deeply convinced that no one, especially not me, was capable of raising her daughter's children properly. She had called the night before with her signature line. Benjamin, dear. I'm flying in. Please have someone competent pick me up. And try not to burn the children. Then she hung up. Claire used to joke that her mother could find fault in a glass of water. She wasn't wrong. By 10 a.m., Leila was already rearranging the living room like a woman preparing for battle. She has a what degree in comparative literature, she whispered as she shoved a beanbag into the hall closet. Oxford, I said. And she wrote a book about decoding 18th century feminine subtext in romantic poetry. Leila groaned. Fantastic. I've got 3 flamingo stickers on my jeans and pancake batter in my hair. You'll survive. She narrowed her eyes. You say that, but I think this woman could kill a man with just a raised eyebrow. She could, I admitted. And she has. Figuratively. 3 headmasters, 2 chefs, and 1 unsuspecting Uber driver. The front gates opened with a dramatic buzz. She's here, I said. Leila took a deep breath. Let's go meet the Queen. Lady Margaret swept into the house wearing a cream trench coat and a hat shaped like a sideways sailboat. Her lipstick was perfect. Her glare was sharper than ever. Benjamin, she said coolly, kissing the air near my cheek. You look tired. Good morning to you too, Margaret. Then her gaze fell on Leila. She blinked. Once. Twice. And then said, in a tone carved from marble, and who might this be? I opened my mouth, but Leila beat me to it. Leila Torres. Professional child wrangler, tea enthusiast, and emergency glitter medic. A silence hung for one long beat. Then Margaret said, Is that a flamingo on your shirt? It's Harold, Leila replied. He's emotionally complex. I nearly choked. Max and Lily barreled down the stairs and jumped straight into Margaret's arms. She softened immediately. My darlings, she cooed. Have they been feeding you properly? Are you reading Austen yet? We're doing space dinosaurs. Max shouted. They eat comets. Margaret blinked. I see. She stood and turned back to me. We'll have tea in the drawing room. I assume the staff can handle it. Leila gave a mock salute. On it. The tea was tense. Margaret sat upright in the antique chair Claire had inherited. Her spoon clicked softly against her china cup. Leila perched on the arm of the sofa, cradling a mug that said, World's okayest nanny. Benjamin tells me you're quite spirited, Margaret said. Leila smiled sweetly. Only during thunderstorms. And you were trained where? Mostly in chaos. But I've taken a few CPR classes and once convinced a 4-year-old to stop eating rocks, so I'd say I'm seasoned. Margaret raised a brow. Do you always speak in riddles? Only before noon. I coughed into my tea. The twins burst in with paper crowns and declared Lady Margaret their Space Empress. She accepted the role with a regal nod but clearly eyed Leila as if she were an intergalactic threat. The incident happened that evening. Margaret was inspecting the children's bookshelf when her pearl necklace snapped and beads scattered across the polished floors. She reached to catch it, slipped, and landed on her back with a crack. "Mother!" I shouted, rushing to her. But Leila beat me there. She knelt down beside Margaret with a gentleness I didn't expect. "Don't move," she said calmly. "It might be your hip." "I've never broken a bone," Margaret gritted. "First time for everything," Leila replied, already checking her pulse. "You're pale. Lightheaded?" Margaret didn't answer. Just winced. Leila turned to me. "Call for the car. Hospital. Now." It turned out to be a fracture. Small, but enough to require a brace and several weeks of recovery. The next morning, Margaret returned home early, insisting on recovering in her own estate. But as she was wheeled to the car, she stopped Leila. "I misjudged you," she said, her voice unusually quiet. "You're not what I expected." Leila smiled. "Harold says thank you." Margaret blinked. Leila added, "The flamingo on my shirt." A pause. Then, barely noticeable, a twitch at the corner of Margaret's mouth. A half smile. "Take care of my grandchildren, Miss Torres." "I already do." Later that evening, Leila sat with me in the kitchen. "I survived the in-law boss battle," she said, sipping tea. "She likes you. She tolerates me." In Margaret's world, that's high praise. We were quiet for a moment. Then she added, "You know, I've been with dozens of families. And none of them have felt like this." "Like what?" She looked at me. "Like home." My heart stuttered. But before I could answer, Max ran in wearing a tutu and shouted, "Daddy, we need you for the flamingo dance." Leila grinned. And without thinking, I stood, took her hand, and followed them into the hallway. Where Harold the flamingo waited. And for once, I didn't care who was watching. Running a multi-billion-dollar company from home was never easy. Running one while your living room was being converted into a pirate ship. Uncharted waters. I had a major investor call that morning, a strategic planning session with stakeholders in London and Singapore. The kind of call that decided mergers, budgets, and, occasionally, futures. I wore a crisp white shirt, navy tie, and the permanent scowl of a man juggling too many realities. My children, however, had decided I was no longer Benjamin Cole, CEO. I was Captain Dad Beard of the HMS Banana Toast. They'd constructed a ship out of couch cushions, broomsticks, and bath towels. Max was the navigator, Lily was the cannon master, and Leila, well, she had a parrot puppet on one hand and a clipboard in the other. 5 minutes to battle, Captain. Leila shouted. I adjusted my Bluetooth earpiece. I'm not a pirate. I'm in a quarterly forecast meeting in, Lily waved a plastic sword at me. No talking like a landlubber, Daddy. Max pulled a blindfold over my eyes. Prepare to be boarded. Leila winked. Don't worry. I'll have them back on shore before your call ends. I shook my head and shut myself into my office. Behind the door, I could hear them arguing about whether space pirates were real. Then Leila's voice rose above the rest, only if their spaceships have glitter cannons. I grinned despite myself. The meeting started with the usual formalities, slides, graphs, acronyms, stock talk. Then things started to fall apart. One of our Asian partners flagged a shipping delay on a key project. Another investor raised concerns about our expansion into Europe. Tensions rose. Voices sharpened. The energy shifted from strategic to hostile fast. I tried to defuse it with facts, but they weren't having it. Accusations started flying, about missed reports, unreliable teams, overpromised rollouts. Then, just as I unmuted to calm everyone down, the door to my office burst open. Max stood in full pirate gear. "Captain Dad Beard, we need backup." Layla's being tied to the mast. Behind him, I caught a glimpse of Layla laughing, hands loosely knotted in jump ropes, as Lily screamed, she betrayed the treasure map. I scrambled to hit mute. "Out!" I hissed. 5 minutes, guys. "But she's going to walk the plank," Max shouted. "Then tell her to hold on." He slammed the door. I turned back to the screen, breathless. Dozens of high-level professionals stared at me. "I apologize." "Family emergency," I said, adjusting my tie. The oldest board member leaned in. Was someone walking the plank? Laughter exploded in the call. And just like that, the tension broke. We solved the shipping problem in 12 minutes. By the end of the meeting, the CFO from Tokyo promised to send his grandkids pirate hats. Sometimes, the solution to corporate drama is pretend mutiny. After the call, I emerged to find my house fully conquered. Layla was lounging on the upper deck, a pile of pillows. Max was drawing treasure maps on the wall. Lily had duct-taped googly eyes to the dog. "You saved my job," I said to Layla, flopping down beside her. She grinned. "So, raise? Let's start with hazard pay." She nudged my shoulder. "You were kind of amazing back there." I arched a brow. "You heard the call. The hallway is not soundproof. Also, I had one ear in and one parrot out." I looked at her for a long moment. It was easy, sitting beside her. Easier than it should have been. She had become the calm in my chaos. Or maybe the chaos I needed to feel calm. Either way, she wasn't just the nanny anymore. And I didn't know what to do about that. That evening, we ordered pizza. Max insisted we eat it on the floor, like real pirates. Layla told a story about a jellybean warlord who traded treasure for glitter. Lily fell asleep with her head in Layla's lap. And I just watched. Watched how Layla's fingers moved through my daughter's curls like she'd done it for years. Watched how Max curled up at her feet without hesitation. Watched how the silence didn't feel empty for once. After we carried the kids upstairs, I lingered in the hallway. Layla turned to me. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. Then, quieter, "I think I'm starting to forget what it was like before you." She tilted her head. "Before me in general? Or me and the flamingo decals?" "All of it." She looked at me for a long second. And then, in a voice so soft it almost slipped away, she said, "Then maybe it's working." "What is?" She smiled. "Healing." Later, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I realized something. This wasn't just about getting my kids back to joy. It was about me, too. And somewhere between glitter bombs and pirate swords, something had shifted. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was starting to live again. It was my idea. A family picnic. Simple, peaceful, normal. I even cleared my calendar for the entire day, much to my assistant's horror. "We'll go to the park," I told Layla. "No meetings, no phones, no glitter explosions." She raised an eyebrow. "Not even one small glitter explosion?" I gave her a look. "Not even a sparkle?" She grinned. "Deal. But I'm packing backup juice boxes. Just in case." The day was perfect. Blue skies, warm breeze, sunlight flickering through the trees like a scene from a children's book. We found a quiet spot under a willow tree, spread out a checkered blanket, and opened the basket Leila had packed like a magician's bag: fruit slices, homemade sandwiches, rainbow cookies, tiny bottles of bubble solution. Max immediately declared war on a colony of ants. Lily braided flowers into Leila's hair. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't thinking about emails, shareholders, or grief. I was just there. Present. Watching my children giggle as bubbles floated around them, watching Leila laugh so hard she snorted peach tea through her nose, yes, it happened, and realizing that something inside me had quietly, profoundly shifted. I wanted this. Not just the picnic. The life. But life, of course, had other plans. It started with the family across the lawn. 2 parents. 3 kids. Loud. Picture perfect. Matching outfits, perfectly combed hair, Dad tossing a football while Mom handed out gluten-free muffins. They looked like they belonged on a cereal box. Lily saw them first. She stopped mid-laugh and watched them, face unreadable. "Are they normal?" she asked quietly. Leila turned. "What do you mean, sweetheart? They have a mom and a dad. We don't." Her voice was small. Too small. "We have you," Max said stubbornly, looking at Leila. But Lily shook her head. "You're not really our mom." Silence. I felt the shift like a cold wind. Leila looked like someone had slapped her. Not visibly, but I saw it in her eyes. And then Lily turned to me. "Daddy, why did Mommy go away? Did she want to leave us?" My throat closed. "No," I said immediately. "No, baby. She loved you more than anything." "Then why didn't she stay?" There it was. The question that cracked everything open. I reached for her, but she pulled back. "I don't remember her voice," she whispered. Max looked down. "I remember her hair. But I forget her hugs." Leila moved toward them, but I stopped her, gently. "I need to do this," I said. I knelt in front of them, eye level. My voice shook, but I kept it steady. "Your mom didn't leave because she wanted to. It was an accident. A car crash. She didn't get to say goodbye, but she never stopped loving you." Lily sniffled. "Why didn't you talk about her?" The truth stung. Because it hurt too much. I pulled them both into my arms. But not talking doesn't mean I forgot. I never forgot. I just didn't know how to make the pain smaller. They cried against my chest, little shoulders trembling. And then I felt her. Leila. Sitting beside me, placing a hand gently on my back. Not replacing. Not interrupting. Just being there. Later, as we packed up the picnic in silence, Leila pulled me aside. "Don't shut down," she said gently. "Not now. I'm not. You are. I know that look, you disappear into your own head." I sighed. I hate that I let it go this long. That my daughter thinks her mother left. That my son forgot her voice. You did the best you could. Was it? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached up and touched the edge of my collar, brushing off a smudge of grape jelly. "They don't need perfect," she said. "They need you. Broken, confused, trying you." I looked at her, really looked at her. And then, for the second time that day, I said something without thinking. "I'm falling in love with you." The world went still. Birds kept chirping. Max was arguing with a duck. Lily was trying to stuff a sandwich in her pocket. But between us, quiet thunder. Leila's eyes widened. Then she stepped back. "I can't," she whispered. The words felt like ice water. I didn't mean to make it weird." "No," she said, shaking her head. "It's not weird. It's real." And that's what scares me. I swallowed. You don't feel the same. I do, she said. That's the problem. And then she turned and walked away. That night, the house was quiet again. Too quiet. The kids were asleep. The stars were out. And the hallway outside my room felt like a canyon between everything I wanted and everything I just pushed too fast. But deep down, I knew something had shifted again. Maybe things had cracked open in the park. But maybe now, finally, we could start building something real. Even if it started with a few broken pieces. The next few days were strange. Not broken. Not angry. Just quiet. Leila and I continued the routine, breakfast chaos, school prep, bedtime stories, but something between us had shifted. No more inside jokes. No more late-night tea. No more her sitting on the counter with a slice of apple pie, waiting for me to put the kids to bed just so we could argue about which Disney villain had the best redemption arc. She was still here. But she wasn't here. And the kids noticed. It all came to a head on Saturday morning. I came downstairs to the scent of cinnamon and the sound of giggling. Max and Lily were shirtless, covered in temporary tattoos from chin to waist. Their arms were a collage of dinosaurs, flamingos, hearts, and rainbows. Someone had drawn a mustache on Lily with a Sharpie. Leila stood at the sink, scrubbing ink off a pancake. I blinked. What happened? Art happened, Leila muttered, without turning around. Lily beamed. We're pirates with feelings. Max lifted his arm proudly. Mine says, I love poop, in cursive. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Okay. Let's maybe draw the line at bathroom declarations. Leila still hadn't looked at me. Did you help them with these? I asked. She hesitated. They asked for hearts and animals. I gave them markers. They did the rest. On their skin. They're washable, she said flatly. You let them turn themselves into graffiti walls. They're kids, Ben. It washes off. And what if it doesn't before school Monday? She turned around sharply. Then their teachers will see that your children are creative and expressive and maybe a little bit chaotic, which, by the way, they learned from you. I blinked. From me? She stepped forward, exasperated. Yes. You, with your color-coded schedules and laminated snack charts, trying so hard to be perfect that they rebel just to feel alive. My mouth opened. Then closed. Leila wasn't done. You're not a bad father. You're a scared one. Scared to mess up. Scared to lose again. And it's written all over everything you do. I stared at her. And what about you? You run away the second something real happens. She flinched. That day in the park, you didn't just back off. You disappeared. I needed time, she said. I didn't expect to fall for you. I didn't come here for that. Then why did you come? Her eyes softened. Because I wanted to help a broken family find its way back. I looked at her. Really looked. She was tired. Frustrated. Hurt. But she hadn't left. She'd stayed. Even when it got complicated. Even when I made it hard. The twins crashed into the room with glitter and glue in hand. Max pointed at me. Dad. You don't have any tattoos. Before I could protest, Lily grabbed my hand and tugged me to the floor. You need one. A heart. Guys, Leila knelt beside me. Come on. Pirate with feelings. Join the crew. I sighed. Max peeled the backing off a bright red heart. Lily pressed it over my wrist. And just like that, I was inked. Perfect, Leila said softly. I glanced at her. The space between us had narrowed. And for once, I didn't try to fill the silence with words. I just let it be. That night, after the twins fell asleep, I stood at the sink, washing dishes I hadn't meant to. Leila walked in quietly. She reached for a towel and started drying without a word. We worked side by side for a few minutes, and then, gently, she said, "I was wrong." I looked up. "I shouldn't have run," she whispered. "But I was scared too. Scared that if I let myself love you, I'd lose it like everything else." I turned off the tap. "You won't." She stared at me. "You can't promise that." "No," I said. "But I can promise I'll show up. Every day. Even when I'm scared. Even when I screw up." She smiled. Soft. Real. "I missed you," she said. I leaned in just slightly. "Did Harold miss me too?" She laughed. The flamingo cried himself to sleep. And just like that, the space between us disappeared. We didn't kiss. Not yet. But she reached for my hand. And I let her hold it. The temporary tattoo on my wrist had already started to fade. But the moment? That was permanent. It started raining just before dinner. Not a gentle drizzle, a full-blown, sideways blasting, thunder-shaking storm. The kind that turns streets into rivers and windows into percussion instruments. Leila and I were in the kitchen making tacos with the twins. And by making tacos, I mean Lily was wearing sour cream as a hat, Max was using tortilla shells as ninja stars, and Leila was trying to save the guacamole from becoming a finger paint medium. "You know this isn't how normal people eat," I said, narrowly dodging a flying jalapeno. Leila raised a brow. "Ben, your daughter just asked if tacos can be cursed. We passed normal 30 minutes ago." Max yelled, "Avocado curse attack," and launched a lime across the room. I caught it. Barely. "I miss boardrooms," I muttered. Lily climbed onto a stool. "You miss boardrooms?" EW. Leila laughed. Touché. And then, of course, it happened. As I reached for the hot sauce, Max bumped my elbow. The bottle flew out of my hand, arced like a red rocket, and exploded against Leila's chest. It was everywhere. Shirt, jeans, socks, eyebrows. Silence. The kids stared in horror. I stared in panic. Leila looked down slowly, red sauce dripping from her collar. Then she met my eyes. And grinned. "Well," she said. "That's one way to spice things up." I exhaled so hard I nearly choked on a tortilla chip. The kids lost it, rolling, laughing, howling like hyenas. Leila wiped a streak from her cheek and dabbed it onto my nose. "Revenge," she said solemnly. And just like that, we were all laughing. After dinner, we changed into pajamas and made popcorn. Leila put on a movie, but the kids fell asleep before the opening credits. She and I sat on the floor, backs against the couch, popcorn bowl between us, the rain tapping like music on the windows. "I've never seen them like this," I said quietly. "So safe. So loud. So free." Leila smiled without looking at me. "They're amazing." "They are," I agreed. "But you brought them back to life." She shook her head. "They just needed space to be kids. I just made the space." "And what about me?" I asked. "Did I need space too?" Her eyes flicked to mine. "No," she said. "You needed someone to sit beside you in the quiet. And maybe offer you a taco." I reached for her hand. "You gave me more than tacos. Hot sauce, too," she teased. "Leila." My voice softened. She looked up. "I think I love you," I said. Not in a scary, rushing way. Just, in a way that feels like home. Her breath caught. She didn't speak. But her fingers tightened around mine. I'm still figuring this out, I continued. But if I fall, I want it to be with you. I'm not great at catching, she whispered. I don't mind landing hard, I said, as long as it's real. Her eyes shimmered. Then, slowly, she leaned in. Our lips met in the quietest moment of the storm, like two puzzle pieces that had waited too long to find their shape. No fireworks. No swelling music. Just soft. Certain. Honest. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine. I was falling too, she whispered. I just didn't want to fall alone. You're not alone anymore. Later that night, I checked on the kids. Max had one arm flung dramatically over his head, like a soap opera star mid-faint. Lily had her foot on a pillow and her fingers still sticky with popcorn. I kissed them both goodnight. Then I turned off the light. And tiptoed back to the living room. Leila was there. Waiting. And I realized something simple but profound: this wasn't about replacing the past. It was about building something new, with love, laughter, and maybe just a little bit of hot sauce. 3 months later, the house felt different. Not just cleaner or louder or warmer. It felt alive. There were signs of Leila everywhere: her sketchbook on the kitchen counter, flamingo slippers in the hallway, a pink mug labeled "Captain of Chaos" beside my coffee machine. And joy. So much joy. Max and Lily were thriving. Max could read full sentences without exploding in frustration. Lily made friends at school and declared herself queen of the playground. They laughed more. Cried less. Slept deeper. And every time I looked at Leila, at the way she fit so effortlessly into our lives, I felt something I thought I'd buried for good: hope. One Saturday morning, we woke up to the sound of Lily shouting, "Emergency." I bolted upright, heart racing. Max appeared in the doorway, wide-eyed. Lily swallowed a ring. I panicked. A what? Leila calmly emerged from the bathroom with a toothbrush in one hand and a sock in the other. She did not swallow a ring. She tried to wear one as a toe bracelet and got stuck. Still an emergency. Lily yelled from behind her. Leila winked. Crisis level, mild. Coffee first. Later, after toe extraction and waffles, I took the kids outside while Leila stayed behind to deal with the glitter situation upstairs. That's when it hit me. I didn't want another minute of this life without her. Not just as the woman who helped us heal. But as family. As ours. That evening, I called Max and Lily into my office. They stood at attention like soldiers, still wearing their pajamas and face stickers. I need your help, I said. With what? Max asked. Spies? Aliens? Lily guessed. Something bigger. They leaned in. I took a deep breath. I want to ask Leila to marry me. They screamed. Actually screamed. Then Max stopped. Wait, marry, like, forever. Forever, I said. Lily looked serious. Does that mean she'll be our real mom? No one replaces your mom, I said gently. But if you're okay with it. Leila could be part of our family now. For real. They looked at each other. Then nodded. Can we help? Max asked. I was counting on it. The next morning, we set the plan in motion. Lily made a crown out of macaroni and glue. Max wrote a marriage speech that included the words tacos, dragons, and emergency pudding. I arranged something simple, a picnic in the backyard, under the same tree where Leila first tied a flamingo kite 6 weeks ago. She thought we were just having Sunday lunch. She didn't see the twinkle lights, or the handmade "Will you marry us" sign the kids had hidden under the picnic blanket. She didn't notice me slip the ring box into my jacket. But she saw my smile. And somehow, I think she knew. We ate sandwiches. Told stories. Watched the kids roll down the hill in dizzy spirals. Then I took her hand. "Come here," I said. She followed me to the tree. I dropped to one knee. Her eyes went wide. "You didn't." "I did." The kids ripped off the blanket and revealed the sign. She gasped. I opened the box. It wasn't flashy. Just a silver band with 3 tiny stones, one for Max, one for Lily, and one for us. "Leila Torres," I said, voice thick, "you saved my kids. You saved me. You filled this home with life again. And if you'll have us, all 3 of us, we want to be your forever." She covered her mouth with both hands. Then nodded. And whispered, "Yes. A million messy, glittery times yes." The kids tackled her in a hug. We laughed. We cried. And somewhere in the trees, I swear, a plastic flamingo nodded in approval. Weeks later, we had a small wedding in our backyard. No suits. No heels. Just laughter, sunlight, friends, and a flower girl who refused to walk and insisted on moonwalking instead. Lily drew our vows in crayon. Max made Leila a "best mom ever" sash out of duct tape. And when I said, "I do," I meant it with everything I was. Not just to Leila. But to second chances. To healing. To joy that doesn't erase the past, but honors it by moving forward. That night, after the kids were asleep and the guests had gone, Leila and I danced barefoot under the stars. No music. Just the sound of wind and love. "I didn't know if I'd ever feel whole again," I whispered. She smiled against my chest. Maybe we weren't meant to feel whole alone. And in that moment, with her arms around me and the house glowing softly behind us, I knew this was our new chapter. And it was just beginning.